There's 3 types of push hands. There's a sensitivity drill, that's cooperative. There is a stationary drill that has resistance, and there's a very safe type of free sparring. So the sensitivity drill that is cooperative, when you're doing one side of it, on your side it's going to look like this. So you're getting a good Tai Chi stance, so take a good step out. Now you're in a good Tai Chi stance. Make sure your spine's straight up and down. And when you move your hips forward, your hand's going to go like this. And this shoulder comes forward, this shoulder comes back, and your hips go forward. When your hips go back, your shoulders also switch direction, and your hand comes like this. Okay? So you're going to move forward and back. So on the other side, you're going to move forward and back, and forward and back. So we're going to go forward and back, forward and back. So you're doing rooting energy because your knees are bent. Okay? So when you stick to them and you don't let them, so while you're doing this, you want to stick to them and not let them go. And even when you're coming back, you want to make sure you're staying in contact with this lead arm. And so this kind of energy where you're sticking to them is called pressing energy. Now the other aspect that you're practicing here is called ward off. And that is when you're maintaining enough structure to be able to resist them. So you're using ward off, you're using pressing, and you're rooting. That's what you do in this sensitivity drill. Okay, Randall? So this is just one-handed. The one-handed version is just a sensitivity. Okay, other side. Okay. Each practice, we might do 5 minutes on each side of that. Then is the resistance balance drill. And this one is the same thing with 2 hands. So on the lead hand, you're doing the same thing as before, but now you keep your other hand on their elbow. Now the other thing about this one is you can try to slip past their hands and get hand contact on the body. On all of these push hands, you're not making any contact above the collarbone or at the hips or below. So this, again, it's not sparring, it is just a balance drill with resistance. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the other person to move their feet. So we get both in a good Tai Chi stance. Our toes, our feet are more overlapping than they are separated this way. So my big toe is past his big toe, and his big toe is past my big toe. And you usually go around 3 times. 1, is start pushing the person. So we'll switch feet. And when I used to do videos about this with Randall, I used to warn people he's a better grappler than me, and now that he's my size, you can see that he is. Try to get me with that technique when you're going back. Or where you're yielding. Try to yield on me. So this is the other thing. It's not just pushing, it's also pulling. So, you know, if you are doing this kind of push hands and you feel like you really suck, and you don't want to do it because you're frustrated, that's a better reason to do it, because your attributes are building even if you're not getting this great sense of accomplishment by doing this drill. And this drill, this drill isn't the free sparring. Here's what so now me and Randall are going to do the basic moving step push hands, which is your, like, the safest imaginable free sparring. And so what we're going to do is, using push hands, we're going to try to get each other to take a step off of this mat, or get the other person to touch the ground with something other than their feet. Yeah, including the top of the foot. The top of the foot's a no-no. So if your knee or your top of the foot touches, or any other part of your body that's not the bottom of your feet, that is a score. We're using an extremely small mat for this. Most push hands rings would be quite a bit larger. So we'll go around 3 times. I got lucky and okay, so that's the game. Those are the 3 basic push hands games. I want to point out something about a common clinch you see in moving step push hands. And if you're doing self-defense, doing push hands for self-defense, it's important to know this. Let's say these sticks are knives or some other weapon. If me and Randall are knife fighting, the most reliable disarm we found in free sparring for a knife looks like this. I go in here and then Randall overhooks my arm like this. And this is absolutely one of the applications of wave hands like Cloud in Yang style. Now, Randall, switch sides. If somebody does this to you, you can't really get your knife back until you let go of it yourself. And so once he let go of it, he was able to free his hand. Now, here's what he doesn't want to have happen. He doesn't want me to cinch up on his arm, turn, and crank as hard as I can. He doesn't want me, this is something else, you see this kind of movement a lot in Chen style. is it's here, they got it locked up, and you boom as hard as you can. So there's a famous judoka who broke a bunch of people's arms doing that before they made it illegal, but it's in the Tai Chi forms for this kind of disarm. So if Randall does that to me, if Randall does this to me, I now have two problems. One is my primary hand, my dominant hand, is being occupied by his less dominant arm, and now he's got his dominant hand free. So the no-brainer, obvious solution that isn't actually that no-brainer, because I don't want him to take a step back and crank. I can't have this. I can't have a broken arm real fast, or at least a highly damaged arm real fast. So I have to control him and not let him do that. Plus I have to let him not either punch me or stab me or beat me with an object in that arm. So the obvious solution is going to be, I gotta overlock that arm. So when you see Tai Chi guys, when you see Chen Zi Huang's guys, I don't know how to pronounce it, but Chen Zi's name, when you see these guys spend a lot of time in this clinch position, you gotta remember that Tai Chi is a self-defense system, which means a weapon system. Like, it's for weapons because it's a real fight, like an actual street fight, so there's weapons. So this is the situation. And so they will spend a lot of time grappling here. And at my stick fight at the last quarter T-pon, we got into this clinch, and that's why we each had a stick. Okay, and the reason why I launched from there real easily is because as a Tai Chi guy, I've spent a lot of time in this clinch right here. So this clinch is commonly seen in Tai Chi, and the reason why is because Tai Chi is largely about sword fighting, and that is one of the most obvious clinches that'll happen in a sword fight. Okay, something else about push hands is once you do the two-man moving step push hands, typically you use that as a base to start practicing other techniques. So you might do push hands with front kicks. You might do push hands with punches to the body. You might say, okay, we're going to do full-blown Tai Chi wrestling, and it's push hands, but you are allowed to grab the head and grab the legs. These are all different. You hear about all these different ways of doing push hands because they build off that first basic moving step. The first basic moving step, push hands, that's the basis by which you add the other sparring techniques. So it's no coincidence that that could be the basis, for example, sword sparring. It's push hands with sword techniques a lot, and you both have some kind of safety swords to fight with.